Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is VlogsBoutNothin. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy night to join me. I really appreciate that. I hope I'm catching you at a good time. I always kind of hope that I'm catching you at a good time because I want you to watch my videos. It's a constant struggle, let me tell you, especially when you're a good old boy here on YouTube, kind of saying some things that may not be so popular to everybody. So I appreciate you guys joining me. The channel does what it does every day, but for those of you that consistently watch, and for those of you that will eventually tumble around on over to watching this video, whether that's next week or in 2 weeks or I've seen a month. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I hope that you're doing really good, and I'm happy that you found the safe space here that we have because comments are turned off, and I think that's a real cool thing. Because like just for a number of different things, and I think we'll make a different video on that. We've made videos on it, but I seen a creator today post this really long letter to all of his subs because people in the comments just, it's tough. I mean, the general rule is to just never read comments, but man, we're only human. Creators looking for feedback, but not division and opposition so much that like everything we say gets absolutely picked apart. So I feel for creators out there. That's why I turn the comments off. I say some stuff that upsets some people, and that's not my intent. But when the trolls come out, they come out, and so we're just trying to do our best. You know what I mean with the troll con traffic. I don't the troll traffic. Anyways, the troll control traffic, I think, is what I was trying to all combine in there, but regardless, you know what I'm talking about. So, okay, like when you get old, the standard is that like the things that you knew of when you were young or the ways that you're used to um quickly end, and it's over. And this isn't typically with like large scale good things like the end of poverty or homelessness or medical bill debt or anything like that. It's typically with really good things. Like I would argue Blockbuster, and by extension Block Party, and there's lots of things that have ended way too soon before they were ever given an opportunity to be the kind of places they were meant to be. And as a person who now has been obviously a smoker of marijuana, and I do not condone the smoking of marijuana and underage or to anyone in that regard. It is legal in some states and in some countries, but not in this one. So regardless, I say these things with all of that in mind. I've been smoking, since for about 26 years. I'm 36 years old. Again, never condone anything at all, at any way, shape, or form. I'll let you do the math, but that's how long I've been smoking. It's an honest answer. It's been a big part of my life, and growing up as a young adult, I had the privilege of being in my early 20s when it was like serious marijuana culture vibe. There were people within my local community all over the country that were jumping on this bandwagon to have medical marijuana put into a bill and voted on by its legislatures, and through extension the constituents. And again, this is like in the early 2010s. This is late aughts. This is a movement that I mean, California has had recreational weed since I do believe 1996. Legalized medical weed. Forgive me, not recreational. Anyways. So it's been a big part of my life, and as I get older, like the culture has changed, right? From being a super young guy and getting nickel bags of marijuana to being in a situation where it's been regulated, and now I can safely assume that the place of business that's been granted that license is in a way gonna sell me the best kind of product, whether that be for medical or recreational purposes that I want. Long story short, one of my favorite dispensaries of all time is closing here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And, again, it makes me think of a few things. It makes me think of how old I am, and it makes me think of how, you know, a lot of change that people are resistant to, but then end up falling back, towards, is a super dangerous kind of precedent as it concerns certain industry. And I hate to see the cannabis market being monopolized by a handful of private growers and investors who are only interested in scaling a business that is more than a business. Marijuana is so much more than our federal government, which could arguably be said could be run like a business. Marijuana has always been a part of a different kind of a culture. Whether that be counterculture, whether that just be the freedom, the right for a freedom of expression to be exemplified by yourself. But when dispensaries close, I get concerned. I get concerned because I know they're not closing as a lack of profitability. I mean, even though that could be true in that they are definitely making less money than they were even just a few years ago. I mean, I could buy that argument. I definitely could, because more shops have opened up, there's more competition, it's driven prices lower. There's a number of different factors that I could definitely see something. Regardless, arguing over less profits as opposed to more profit. The key word there is profit, because they always are making profit. But I get concerned when local dispensaries start to be, closed down. The dispensary I'm referring to is actually a spot where we have a pseudo semi licensed anthropomorphic character sitting there in front of their lobby, and has been, I think, this whole summer, but not any longer than that. I mean, before that, this dispensary's been open 14 years. It was one of the first dispos that I had ever been to, not just here, well, like ever, because it was here in Albuquerque. And so it was one of just a handful of spots that you could go to get medicine 14 years ago. Again, so all of the legacy dispos I've seen slowly close. They've been bought out and now are running a different kind of a business. And I say different kind of a business because it is, in fact, a different kind of a business, which is why a lot of us enjoy going to a mom and pop restaurant compared to the local fast food Olive Garden. I mean, there's different reasons we go to places for different kinds of experiences. And it's unfortunate when all of the established institutions that we're so used to providing a solid and stable service are then, turns out like every other normal human being, and just as willing to sell as they were to take the risk initially, open up business, and be around for 14 years. It's a tricky sort of a thing, right? In that currently a large population of my neighbors, including myself and my apartment, are being gentrified. We've discussed this in previous videos. 5 years ago, I went through my first gentrification. And I bring that up because that is, in fact, something that is important to note in society. When there's change and it occurs rapidly, it's often, almost always, in the disinterest of the people that the rapid change is occurring to, whether that be at your local dispensary and you taking a hit as a community member, as the services it provided and the quality that you've come to expect as being a community member, or living in an apartment complex that some, Scrooge-like guy comes, buys out, and Daddy Warbucks ends up being, the landlord for hundreds of people and arbitrarily raises rent. The first thing they do, right? It's sort of like, hey, my name is Daddy Warbucks. It's nice to meet you. I'm the new owner. rent is going to be increased by $400. I mean, again, like rapid change, good. Rapid change towards historically marginalized populations, whether that be paying customers or paying tenants, it's usually, almost always, not for them. And so I am sad that I'm getting old, and I'm sad that money is truly, I've always heard the expression, everybody's got their price. Everybody's got their price. And it's sort of like, how do you explain this to somebody like me who literally is like Joker status with the money? You guys have seen the Batman movie or the Joker part where he, burns the money. I mean, I'm not advocating, that's a federal crime. I would never advocate for the distortion or the destroying of any federal currency, but in analogy and just speaking in comparative terms, I don't care about money, and I feel like there's a lot of other people like that, but still, it's one thing to say that, I guess, and it's another thing to be like, hey, Albert, you want to come work for me? Here's $1 million. Because, again, like, I get it, I can see the dilemma there. I'm not, that stupid. But nonetheless, I always tell myself, that, like, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's so silly. I mean, and you think about that, right? You think about a bunch of grown adults running around on land, fighting over this arbitrary designation of numerically placed value on pieces of paper that literally dictate how we treat each other, how we interact with one another. That sounds crazy. I mean, am I crazy for thinking that sounds crazy? Because if I am, I'm crazy. But I don't, not taking any of those statements out of context, I don't think that to be the case, just because it is a very silly thing in principle. It's an easy thing to advocate for when, you're the banker in the Monopoly game. I mean, yeah, you want people to, follow the rules, be mindful, work for nothing. I mean, all of these different things. Buy businesses out, doesn't matter who they are, what they are. I mean, compromise local communities through the monopolization of the standardization of a bunch of old boomer dudes and now millennials that are helping all of these things go down. It's a really bad look. And so I'm really sad to see another dispensary go here in my local community. And yeah, and I'm sad that I'm getting old. Just because, at least, and not for any other reason except for, when you're young and you're experiencing a kind of shift in culture and modern sort of ways of happening, it's often short lived, and it's often only really experienced by that particular generation in that particular time. And I would say that moreover too for examples I have, like with the internet. Again, I can't be explicit enough about telling people this in terms of the same things I can do on my phone, or I've seen any phone, whether it's an iPhone 15 or a trifold Huawei flip phone and prototype. I've been able to do those same things on a regular just cell phone. I mean, before they were called smartphones, way before apps were invented, way before. I mean, so to think and to know that I've seen the tech not just stagnate, but like also sort of become less than it was 24 years ago, it's kind of sad, because you guys will never experience what it was like to have a smartphone in the year 2000. And the fact that it was basically as close to freedom as you could get. I mean, that was a time when it was fun to be on the internet. It was safe. You feel me? Like it was a vibe. And if you weren't around, you don't know what I'm talking about, because that has gone so far from where we are now that it's literally beyond laughable. Only, again, because my 10-year-old self is hysterically laughing in my classroom as I hold my BlackBerry, while other people in the future are still paying $1,000 for a phone. That, like, a lot of things don't make sense to me. You feel me? And when small businesses close up, including dispensaries, that doesn't make any sense to me, because places that make money and are closing down should be of cause of concern, because the only reason they're selling is because somebody got to them, and inevitably we've come to expect there to be a decline in service and products. Like, we're going to go to the new owners of this place knowing that we're not going to expect, like, we know all of these things, right? And we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, that's weird too, all while they make less money. It's a whole thing, and I'm really sad that I'm getting old, and that only because I'm getting old, I'm starting to see businesses that were once really good turn to the modern day pizza joint. Have you guys ever tried ordering a pizza on the phone in the year 2024? Good luck with that one. You'd think the person you're talking to is at the place that you can see across the street from your apartment complex, but you would be so far from the truth that it's kind of scary. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th, so let's get to the next video. I hope you guys have a really good night, and thanks again for watching my channel. I really appreciate y'all. Bye.